Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat siang from Indonesia and selamat pagi or goeiemorgen for South Africa. And welcome to our very first webinar, Youth Dialogue, Indonesia, South Africa, organized by ILI. For those of you who might not know about ILI, ILI is a youth organization, Muslim youth organization that focus on building leadership skills based upon Quran and Sunnah. Our headquarters is at the Grand Mosque of Al-Azhar, and annually we facilitate youth from all over the world to have international leadership camp. But unfortunately, because of pandemic, we haven't able to make it again. And we hope everyone here to ask Allah to make this pandemic end very soon. Thank you everyone joining our first webinar, and great to see you all. We're very honored to have with us speakers from South Africa and from Indonesia. And Alhamdulillah, welcome to all our speakers. We already have all speakers from South Africa and Indonesia, and our honor observant, and also our teacher and our mentor, Bang Syariat Alam, Bang Sam. So obviously, this dialogue is to make us to be able and lead us to have a better understanding of the current situation, of the current issue happening in South Africa. Because
Indonesians.
Yep. So we want to know a view or perspective that's gonna be shared by our speakers, because in Indonesia we receive many hoax and misinformation regarding the South Africa just suffers these days, and we pray together. We pray together to everything going better for South Africans family. Before we go to the speaker sessions, it is now our pleasure to introduce Mr. Muhammad Rifki to have opening speech. He is now as Vice President of ILI. So please welcome Mr. Muhammad Rifki. Times in place is yours. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahi alhamdulillahi wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillahi la haula wala quwata illa billah. First of all, I would like to say thank you for coming to Mr. Syariat Arifia, and thanks also to my brother and sister from South Africa, Itani and Napoleon, Bashir Limba, and my brother Adam Turvi. Thank you also to all audience who attend, both from Indonesia and South Africa, from Malaysia and another country. There are a few things I want to say. First, ILI, representing the youth of Indonesia, express deep empathy for the riots and the looting that are currently happening in South Africa. Second, we would like to convey that currently there is a lot of information circulating in Indonesia. That is the riot and looting are the result of COVID-19 pandemic. So with this dialogue, hopefully there will be the new information on what is actually happening in South Africa. The third, hopefully with this dialogue, we can find a solution that we can convey to the government and the general public. Fourth, once again, we Indonesian youth fully support so that conditions in South Africa are safe again in order for activities to return normal. The younger generation can be studied safely so that later they can become a future leader. Last, I hope and I pray to all my brother and sister in Indonesia or in South Africa to continue to be a given health, abundant fortune, and high determination so that they can remain at the front row to fight injustice. Hopefully, this event can run smoothly, fun, and interactive. That's enough for me. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Rifki, for your greeting speech. So we now heading to our speaker session, and I would like to introduce our first speaker. He is Mr. Itani Rasalanavo. He is a South Africa activist who recently active in world by UN Youth Organization in South Africa. So I would like to introduce Mr. Itani to have your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, am I audible? I hope you can hear me well.
Clearly,
Yep.
clearly and handsome.
Yep.
Don't worry.
All right, thank you. This is Itani Rasalanavo from the World Federation of Democratic Youth. I'm a bit sorry about the vision. It's not very clear. I'm currently in the middle of the streets of Johannesburg. I thought maybe it would be best to have this session right in the middle of the city where most of these occurrences took place, because the riots and the looting took place mainly in KwaZulu-Natal as well as here in Johannesburg. Before I could further talk about myself and my views, I would like to give you a short report back on what is happening here in the city center. I'm currently in the city center. It's back to business. It's back to usual business. It is only those that have been looted that have not started to operate, because they still have to recuperate money and other resources in order for them to start. You must remember, it was not just the looting where people were taking things from the shelves and the storerooms. They were also breaking down doors, they were breaking down shelves, breaking down fridges, and so on. So they have lost beyond just the stock, but also the equipment which they use for whatever it is that they do, be it kitchens, be it mechanics, and so on. They have lost each and everything. In getting back to the session of the day, I would like to thank the organization that organized this, the Al-Azhar Youth Leadership Institute, for organizing this session. It is important that we have such sessions where you get clarity and first-hand information from those that you link up in different parts of the world. Because the most important thing in solidarity and in activism, as Che Guevara said, it is when you feel the pain that is felt by those that are far from you. It is only then that you can say that indeed you are an activist, you are a leader in society, you are a revolutionary, you are one who wants to see change within your society. We are very grateful that ID decided to have this session. I would like to personally thank my brother Suryat, who contacted us. He's been a mentor to me. He's been a great brother. He's been a mentor and sharpened my understanding of the world and a view, as well as basic teachings, transferring the little knowledge that you have to those that are after you. He has given us a lot in that. I would like to thank him on that. I am an ILE fellow. I've been in a number of sessions that were held in South Africa.
You
And received,
you are our brother.
yes, yes, thank you, brother. I'm one of you. I'm one of you, and very soon, save this pandemic end soon. I would love to join you, and we have more of this person to person. I'm also in the World Federation of Democratic Youth, which is an organization that includes all young activists that are from democratic countries and those that love democracy. Um, so what has been happening here in South Africa, if I'm to give a brief understanding of my own on what was happening, the former president, on the face of it, what we can see is that the former president was arrested for undermining someone to go to a commission that was going to inquire regarding state capture, to say whether he has been part of those people that sold the state to individuals that are not even South Africans. He refused to go to such a session, and after refusing to go to such a session, there were protests all over. There were protests from opposition parties to say that action must be taken. He was hauled to court, went to court, and the court sentenced him to 15 months in prison. After sentencing him to 15 months in prison, the very same Saturday after the sentencing, the president was to speak. And when the president spoke to the issue of lockdown levels going higher, because here we are using levels where from level 1, the lockdown is very light, movement is easier. And when it is in level 5, movement is a bit difficult. As it is, we're in level 4, which is a bit difficult with other institutions closed. There are certain shops that are closed. There are certain areas that you cannot go, you cannot cross provinces and so on. So it's the level that we are in now. So when the president announced that there's going to be this kind of a level, which is level 4, riots started just immediately after that. Indeed, we had seen riots in KwaZulu-Natal just immediately after the sentencing. We had seen signs of riots before the sentencing. There were those that were running amok in KwaZulu-Natal, promising to burn the country down. Immediately after the sentencing, there were burnings in KwaZulu-Natal from the Thursday, Friday, as well as the Saturday. So after the announcement, the riots transferred to Gauteng, where there were going to be protests, where protests started and looting went amok. People wanted to break into shops. Shops were set alight. Even car dealerships were set alight. So that is what we saw on the face of it, to say that is what was happening. Part of what has been said as what was happening from government is that it was a coup d'etat. There was an attempt to remove the current government for a new government to be imposed. That is an allegation that the government has put forward. I cannot speak much to that. I will speak to what I saw. I witnessed break-ins and lootings in different parts of Johannesburg. We could move on that day from one area to the other as activists and those that said we will be in the forefront of the struggle. So we were moving from one area to the other. Most of it was conducted by people who live next to the particular area. For instance, people who looted in the city center are people from the city center mainly. And those that looted in Berea and other parts of Johannesburg are people from that particular area. It is not people that were shipped in from other parts, but people that just walked towards the shops that were looted. So it cannot be that it was the activists who were protesting for the release of Jacob Zuma, or the activists that were saying that the lockdown is not fair on them. It is just individuals that were on the street. Now this becomes hooligan act, an act of hooligans, with excuse me, I just need to put something in my pocket, with no sign of us with no sign of us detecting exactly who's leading this or not. It could be something that was led somewhere by someone, but there is no clarity as to whether who are these people that led this. No one has claimed responsibility for starting with all the riots. So from that, what does one see from all of it? What does one see from all of it? We see that, excuse me, we see that there is an element of poverty for a start. I will start from that. People see an opportunity and forget to talk about I'm sorry, somebody disrupted me. First and foremost, the first thing that you see from all of that is that there is an element of poverty and an element of desperation. There are people that are desperate. I'm not trying to justify, I'm just pointing out, not in order. There is an element of poverty and desperation whereby when an opportunity is presented, people would run. This is what you would see if there is a heist where a car has been, a cash in transit vehicle has been robbed, there's money on the ground, people would run and try to pick it up. Most of it will have ink. There will be cameras which will trace down the people that are doing it. So a person who is not desperate would think beyond just breaking and taking. If it is people from that area, how would you break shops from which you buy? The shops that you rely on for survival, you go and break them. So it wouldn't be something that we can rely on. It is something that is far from our reliance. It could have been understood if it was a group of people that have been shipped in to come and break in. And in most cases, like in other provinces, there were people who tried to do the same thing and loot. But the people who were around decided to protect their properties. Their properties in Johannesburg that were protected by the residents. So in these areas that there were break-ins, it is on the outskirts of the city. The area that I'm in, there were no break-ins. There were protests, but there were no break-ins. Areas that were mainly affected by break-ins are on the outskirts of the city, in the neighborhoods. And areas and suburbs that are closer to the neighborhoods. There are many suburbs that are next to the neighborhoods that didn't experience these break-ins. So you see that element of desperation and an element of poverty in all of this. And pointing out at that and also pointing at the areas is because of the historical effect of South Africa. Because today, as it is, if you listen to what happened in Phoenix, they say more than 300 people were killed. Now, listen, they are saying 300 people were killed by Indians, South Africans. You hear Indian South Africans, because a specific area in South Africa resides only or primarily Indian South Africans. And the people came from another neighboring neighborhood, which is a black neighborhood, which means that the other area is also black. Now we are living in South Africa that has been historically divided on a racial lines in terms of benefits, in terms of preferences, and so on. And those elements still exist today because they were not collapsed. What happened is there was a request for those that have been oppressed to forgive those that have been oppressing them. Whereas under normal circumstances, it is me who oppresses you that comes and apologizes to you and say, I'm sorry. You don't say you're forgiving me and assume that things are okay. So that is a reflection of what has been happening in this country. Now, that is the second point. This poverty and everything is an outcome of historical factors that have not been resolved, because we are living in a South Africa that have got a lot of issues that have never been resolved. Those are issues that we should be discussing now, instead of pointing out who has done what and who has not done what. We should be looking at what led us to what transpired. This is what we are doing in this session. That is what I'm thinking about those that called for this session. Moreover, if I may end, we will talk further, maybe if allowed to have questions and answers. In closing on this particular issue, I would say there's been information that has been sent as well as misinformation. I mean, information in the form of what has been happening, getting it from the media and other institutions, as well as misinformation to say a particular group of people is being the target for this thing. Now, this particular group that claims to have been targeted has been targeted because those that are close to them have been desperate for so long. Now, fact to that is this: that those that feel that they've been attacked and been victimized by the other group have the other group working for them for more than 100 years now, as I'm speaking. For more than 100 years, they've been working for them. Amongst them, there has not been a single black person that has been, let me not point out at a race. The race that has been attacking, a group that has been attacking, has been working for the one that claims to have been attacked. Now, the group that has been attacked has not done anything to make life better for the other group materially and otherwise. What has been happening has been minor assistances that happen. Yes, it is good to assist a person that is in need. It is great to assist such a person. But why do you give people a fish instead of teaching them how to fish or giving them a rod to fish for themselves? Because these are people that have been living around, people that have been doing business, who know business. Why not empower them beyond just giving them the crumbs, the little bit that they also complain about the salaries that they are getting, empowering them and making them a better people? Why is it that we are living in a society that continues to be divided and it is clear who has done that? It is very clear that which group that has been looting. It is very clear. We can't be questioning who looted. We know who looted. And there is no one who looted who is advantaged, who is privileged. There's nobody who left their cozy house and went to loot. There's nobody who left their cozy job and went to loot. There's nobody who left their business to go and loot. It is those that do not have anything to fall back to. Because me, I could not loot because I knew that the following morning I didn't have much. I lost as well. I lost my fruits were looted. If I can show you, part of this is part of the area that we operate in. Now, this is half of what we have been working on. Most of it is gone. The other section is open. Look at the other side. It's open. There is nothing. As it is, most of the people that were working around are not here because business is down. There's been breakings. There's been a whole lot of other things that occurred. But we know most of the people that have been doing this around here are people that we have known. Are people that we have known to have been on the back foot. It is not a single person that we know that has had an opportunity to better their life. Those that have been presented with such have had a chance to live a better life. So as it is, moving forward, I say that, yes, there's been a lot of looting. It has stopped so far. It was a momentary thing. It happened for about a week and it has stopped. People are getting back to business. They are rebuilding their businesses. But we can't let life be like this because it was not the first time that something like this happened. It happened on the 16th of June, just a month ago. It happened that there were breakings in certain areas. The very same areas, it's just that at this level it was high. Can I also point out that this happens regularly in South Africa, that businesses get broken in. It is now a popular thing because those that are high above have been affected. It is malls that have been broken into. It is the big businesses that have been broken into. That today we're talking about this. I'm saying 16th June, this happened. But small businesses were affected and no one really talked about it like it is being spoken about today. Yes, the impact is big, but it is an impact on somebody that something like this has happened to them. So this has got different faces to it that one could look at, and I'm sharing it to brothers that I believe, brothers and sisters that I believe that are advanced and will understand this in a more broader way. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Itani. Very insightful and interesting issue happening in South Africa. Once again, thank you very much, Itani. We highly appreciate. I heard you striving to get the Wi-Fi in the city center to have speak with us today. We really appreciate it and hope you are safe. And we should learn from Itani. He is activist and he pursued impact in the life of others. So we hold for the question you might have, because I would like to turn the next speaker to Mr. Bashir. Without any further, please have your presentation, Bashir. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wa usalli wa usallimu ala al-mab'uth rahmatan lil alamin nabiyyina wa maulana Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi wa man wala bi ihsanin ila yaumiddin wa ba'd. Jazakumullah, Brother Alfian. After Brother Itani spoke, I just ran out of knowledge because he made mention of literally everything, and I don't want to have anything more to say. But Alhamdulillah, I'm very honored and fortunate to be sharing this platform with you all. And just to digress for a moment, the great Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, Allah Ta'ala had bestowed upon him such a bounty that with the wind he could go to wherever he want to be. So my point is, if Allah Ta'ala had to just bless me with this quality just for a moment, I'd be back in Indonesia instantly. So to begin with, ever since Friday when I got the message to participate in the special program, I've been thinking about what would be an apt way to describe the situation that we are facing. And without a shadow of doubt, at this stage, everyone is aware globally of the mayhem, anarchy, and lawlessness that has gripped and plagued the shores of South Africa. I see some are using the term in the description that South Africa is on fire, and many are saying, cry the beloved country. If I were to describe the sequence of events that have tragically unfolded recently, I would say that we are witnessing a scenario where people are being abducted and looted around us. Therefore, these looters, whenever they enter into any town, city, village, mall, plaza, or economic hub, they destroy it completely and reduce it to ruins beyond recognition. And sadly, they humiliate and disgrace the very owners of that place. Anything and everything which they lay their hands, unfortunately, they destroy, torch, and vandalize to the extent that by default, they literally destroying their own provisions and their own source of incomes. In other words, they are biting their very own hand that feeds them. And of course, we cannot call this a protest because a protest is something which is legitimate and takes place within the law. What is happening here is totally out criminality. Whatever the motivation may be, whether it is about people being genuinely aggrieved over what has happened to our former president Jacob Zuma, or whether people are doing this out of poverty or they are doing it purely out of personal gain. I know the situation may not always be straightforward as we'd want it to be, but the result is that of lawlessness, and it's just absolute chaos. And many people have been asking, are you safe? Are you okay? Are you well? Is your neighborhood okay? Etc. So, many of us, alhamdulillah, with the grace of Allah, were safe in terms of the attacking and the looting and the shooting. But sadly, there isn't a soul in South Africa that we can say never slept with one eye open. And then again, as a believer, how can I muster the courage to say that I'm doing well when my brother's shop has been looted, when my brother's marketplace has been looted, when his business has been burnt to the ground? Like, how can I? And also, the fact that you burnt his business to the ground is one thing. But what is more sensitive than that is that you've planted a bomb in his heart. You've shattered the man. And this looting continued unabated. And innocent people have been killed one after one. Looters were just walking around, freely carrying around the loot, and no one could do anything about it. And they went back and forth to the shopping centers, to the mall, there where they looted, and to pick up the remainings. And then they waited outside with their stuff gathered, for their transport to come. And it's so chaotic to such an extent that even some police took part in this. And I mean, it's not a joke. I mean, police. And this leaves us also with a series of very important questions. So what is the root cause of this? Is it primarily because of unemployment or the big gap between the haves and the have not in our countries, or is it due to the arrest of Jacob Zuma? But like the fact that our police, just to pause for a moment, I mean, our police were unable to deal with it, and I mean, I seen, many days have passed and they weren't able to get grips onto the situation. Like, what does that tell us about the state of law enforcement in our country? I mean, like, when looting can go on like this, yeah, unabated. Anyway, back to my point. People are saying that the COVID-19 lockdown has left them desperate and hungry, and they lost jobs, and they can't get jobs and business. And this is why we're seeing businesses are looted, etc. So, in my opinion, poverty cannot be cited as one of the reasons, because if you look at this looting that was taking place and the stuff that was being stolen, I mean, like, it wasn't basic needs and necessities that was stolen. People were busy usurping televisions, furnitures, and cell phones, and things that is that is contrary to what we need in our daily lives. And although some people are using Jacob Zuma, as the form is an excuse, and that's actually what I believe. I believe that our people are actually using this Jacob Zuma being in jail as an excuse to come about this type of behavior. Like, I mean, if it was really about Jacob Zuma being in jail, why didn't they go to the jail cell of Jacob Zuma and go and bomb that place? Instead, they rather went to other people's businesses and to go and destroy it, and so on and so forth. So to conclude with, in my opinion, I really believe that this looting and everything that took place was purely out of greed and out of lack of mannerism and ethics and conduct. And I also hope that those people that were affected by it, we ask Allah Ta'ala to restore their wealth back and to grant them better than what they lost. Jazakumullah.
Thank you, Bashir Limba, for your insightful explanation and presentation. I now turn to the next speakers. Our next speaker is Mr. General Napoleon, who has been actively in Marikana community. So please, I would like to invite Mr. Napoleon to have your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity. Good morning to everybody, all the panelists, everybody. Thanks for this opportunity of sharing my views. Before I start my talk, I would love to quote Martin Luther King when he says, "Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter." In short, I think Itani has touched it, Comrade Itani has touched it. The problem of South Africa is a very, very serious problem whereby the natives have been put into the very same situation that they were when they were fighting for freedom. They are not economic participants. They are not. They're still condemned to look for jobs. They cannot participate in any business or whatever economic activity it is there. The opportunities are still for the very same people who were privileged before. Why should we should not forget that South Africa has not changed. We should not forget what were the reasons why our forefathers, our uncles, they went into exile to train, to kill those who owned their native land. It will be wrong to ignore that whatever is happening now is the result of not resolving the past problems. We have been talking about our land, our ancestral land. We do not have right of our land. And the very same people that our forefathers went to exile to fight for our land, our forefathers went to exile to fight for our land so that our land can be in our possession and we can set the rules for our land. The very same people who own the land then are still owning the land, meaning the politicians fooled us into believing into the freedom. And this freedom was just a freedom of speech to go out there and say Amandla, Amandla, which does not even empower us. So it is very painful that we find ourselves in the very same situation whereby we are like foreigners in our own land, our native land, the very same land where the bones of our ancestors are buried. So it is painful that we sit here and be condemned to looking for jobs. Nobody thinks that we want to farm. Nobody thinks that we want to own factories. Our mines are being looted now and then. we've got platinum, we've got gold, we've got minerals, and they're all shipped out of the country by the very same mining companies that are financing the white privilege. White people are still running the economies, and the problem comes when young people like the gentleman who just spoke now, they are afraid to confront. When somebody goes and loots, I feel that person is justified because we are not economic participants in our own country. Big businesses are still running the show. We cannot own anything. We should look for jobs in our own country. That cannot be right. That cannot be right. What is the freedom when we cannot be participants, economic participants? What is the freedom when the very same resources that are coming out of our land are still financing the foreign white nationals and those who are coming from far, far places? We need to have an advantage of our land. We need to benefit from the land of our ancestors. So it pains me when people are blaming looting. Looting was a good sign. It's a symptom of the pain that is going on in Black people. Here, it is not an issue of Jacob Zuma, the former president. It's an issue of leaving the problem to grow and grow and grow until when people, they have no any other option. So I feel what they did was the right thing, even though I did not participate. Mining companies and the minority people who are foreigners are still controlling what is happening in South Africa, and that is wrong. We need our land. We need to own our land and set the rules for our land so that whoever wants to deal with us will deal with us in our rules, not they come and they hijack us and they continue capturing the politicians, giving them the leftovers so that they can control them. No, what is happening in South Africa is very, very wrong. And it's undermining us as Black people. At some stage, as a race, we need to stand up. We've been undermined for way, way too long. This is our land. Like now, you are in Indonesia. Indonesians must own the economy of Indonesia, not to have in between. White people are foreigners here, and this is not a hate speech. They are foreigners. We will never accept them as our brothers because they came with the wrong motives, criminal motives, to come and dispossess of our land, to come and mine our minerals without even our beneficiation. No, man, this is our land. Indonesia belongs to Indonesians, the natives of Indonesia, and you touch Indonesia, you will see fire. Even us here, the Black people, we are still angry, and this one is not a political issue. I'm saying South Africa belongs to a native, the Black people of this nation. So we cannot continue massaging our pain and all that. We need our land, and this thing should continue, and it should continue as long as we are not engaged. We are not benefiting from our land. This must continue. Violence must continue. People must loot and loot and loot because we are not benefiting from anything here. We are just financing the white privilege. We are financing our enemies with our resources, with what comes from our land. So for this to come to an end, we must be engaged. What is it that we want? We want our land. White people, they have their own native countries. They come from Holland, Germany, and now those who are here, they are operating as agents because they have 2 passports. We don't. We don't have two passports. We have only our African passport. And we are even not having advantage of traveling and whatsoever. So we want to own our land. We want to set rules on how economic activities must be done. We cannot continue being slaves. Now we are sophisticated slaves because politicians, like the current president is a puppet. It's a puppet of the mining companies. And hence, even now, he took part in the murdering of people in Marikana. The mining, the London mine, it was called Lone Min. They ran away from South Africa. And they ran away when the current puppet president became a president. Cyril Ramaphosa is a puppet. After
Mr. Napoleon,
they ran away, they could not account.
I think we are over time, so we might turn to the next speaker. Maybe you can conclude for your closing statement before we go to the next speaker.
Yes, my closing statement is that the politicians are captured by these international companies to loot resources from our land. So I gave an example of the current president. I know you may be afraid. I'm not afraid. I've been arrested. I've been put in prison. I've suffered like many other activists, and I'm willing to die for this truth. I've been in prison for it. Itani knows. I've been shot. I've been arrested many times. That the current president is a puppet, and he's not saving the natives' interest. In short, politicians here are not saving our interest, and we need to unify as a black race to fight against these injustices. A law cannot be used. Law cannot be used to push injustice. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Napoleon Webster. Okay, move on to the next speakers. We have Mr. Adam. Sorry, I just mute. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Napoleon. So we go to the next speakers. We have Mr. Adam Tovi. He is a president of youth organization from the University of Cape Town. So we're gonna get a perspective from the youth activists. So please, I would like to invite Mr. Adam Tovi. Thank you.
Okay, shukran. Assalamualaikum everybody. Good morning, and I just want to say thank you very much for being invited on this panel. It's really something important to be raising awareness about the struggles that are going on across the world. The organization that I'm actually just helping to start up at the moment are also very much on awareness. Yeah, a lot has been covered with regards to the previous speakers. Different perspectives, definitely. I mean, Mr. Napoleon, he spoke about the perspective of the looters and how that is justified. Brother Bashir, he's got a completely different view. And Brother Itani gave such a brilliant synopsis. So from my side, from what I understand, being in Cape Town, we're quite far removed from what happened in KZN, what happened in Gauteng. That's two provinces on the eastern side of South Africa, whereas Cape Town is in the Western Cape, which is on the western shores of South Africa. So we're quite far removed geographically by distance. But it doesn't mean that what happens doesn't reach us. As Bashir pointed out, there was a lot of worry with regards to the spread of protests and riots. But what I want to get into with regards to this is actually the complexity of the situation. It's not just a one-dimensional, oh, the rioters are problem, or oh no, it's the government that's the problem. It's actually, there's so many parts to this, you know, from what you can see. Because if we say that no, the government's the problem, people needed food and they needed to survive, then you ask yourselves, well, then why is it that they need to burn down buildings? Why is it that you need to steal fridges and TVs? That doesn't really benefit you in your necessities. But then you ask the question, well, why? But there are people, or you put the question forward that there are people that are struggling. There are people that are suffering from this pandemic. I think that to say that the rioters or those people that are taking part in the looting are completely unjustified is problematic. I agree with Brother Napoleon with regards to that, is that the rioters, I mean, Bashir, if we talk from a perspective of Islam, Sayyidina Umar, when he was walking through the city, and he came upon the woman who was hungry and she was just boiling stones so that the children could think that there was food. That story should tell us that in that case, we hold the government responsible for people who are suffering. The government is responsible, 100%. There's no doubt about the fact that those who are in charge are responsible. They don't have they're not given power simply to have power. They're given power so that they take care of those under them. That's the real reason for it. The concept or the idea that that we are suffering under white capital is also a real concept. We are. That is a serious problem. That when we come to going through what Napoleon said before me, that we can't, when he talks about the mines and our resources being exported out of here, it's being sold, or we are, if we want to talk about serious looting, South Africa has been looted exactly as said for hundreds of years with these mining companies. You know, these are the things that are ignored if we just blame one side or the other. We need to take into consideration everything. Okay, so if you want to take into consideration, there's three parts to this. There is the people that note that we note that have necessities. The people who take part in the majority of looting are those who are starving because of the pandemic. It really has affected so many of us. To find a job is near impossible. Before it was difficult, now it's insane. To even put food on the table, most of the places that have been looted, a lot of these smaller areas, smaller towns and villages, the people there buy their daily necessities. They live on a day-to-day basis. So there's a lot to unpack. So if you go into, for example, I mean, you take an extreme example of Forbes. Forbes did a segment on this on the YouTube channel where they were talking about how this is all such a destructive thing for the economy of South Africa, and it is in a sense, but also it's a necessary thing. You see, we are like if you look at where, like they were saying, if you want to strengthen your economy, link the rand to the gold, because South Africa is has the largest production of gold. But where does that gold go? It goes out of the country the minute it's mined. I mean, the miners know better than us. We, like, you know what happens. We have miners who they attain the rarest materials in the world here in South Africa, and yet they are of the poorest class of people. That doesn't make any sense, that people struggle like that. I mean, obviously, I agree with a lot of what General Napoleon said there, the very fact that, you can't have a law that pushes injustice. We struggle with this. But we also, as a Muslim, I myself, I can't, how do you say, I can't push for looting. People struggle on both sides. There is the issue of the businesses that are of small businesses, and it's not white capital that is being destroyed only. That's the thing. The small businesses, I mean, businesses where blacks work, businesses where Indians work. If you want to talk about race now, I mean, I don't really want to talk about the race. I want to talk about South Africans. And I think that if you use the racial terminology, you'd simply carrying over the framework of reality that the apartheid system put in place in the first place anyway. So there is that issue with racial terminology. But if you want to look at who, it's not, and so when I'm saying now white capital, I'm not talking about white people, because I believe that Cyril Ramaphosa is a white capitalist, our current president, who took part in much greater looting of the country than Jacob Zuma. So that gets us to the second group that we talk about when we talk about the riots in South Africa. You have those who claim that they're doing this kind of disruption or instability in support of the release of our former president. This kind of thing must be understood, that there are those who are upset. There's a huge support. Well, there's a huge support in KZN where the rioting took place. It's the epicenter of the Zuma supporters. So there is that factor, but they are just the how do you say, they're the starting point. They were the instigation or the motivation for the riots, which were more driven by necessity rather than political motives. The drive actually came from people who were in need, and so we can't condemn them and not condemn our government. With regards to Jacob Zuma, there's not much that really needs to, I don't think that there's much that really needs to be said about why he was in prison, besides the fact that he refused to appear before a commission in order to he refused to appear before a commission that was inquiring as to his involvement in corruption within South Africa. So while he was president. And so that is also, I mean, to have such a vast support while you are in contempt of court is a worrying issue. But it was that spark of him being sent to prison, people calling for him to be released, and then the real they actually fed off the desperation of the poor. So I mean, I think it was Itani who was talking about the neighborhoods that are being looted or being affected, being really a racial divide, where you have, for example, Indian communities, Indian neighborhoods being looted by black neighborhoods, by people from black
Brother
neighborhoods.
Adam, sorry to interrupt you. Maybe you may have your close statement.
Okay, yeah. So sorry, the thing is that this is a very difficult topic to hold to just 10 minutes each. But yeah, in my closing, I would say that there is a lot. I disagree with the fact that we should be okay with looting because people are struggling. But I agree in terms of who must be held responsible. It is definitely the government of South Africa. A lot of people are struggling all over, and it's actually the government's responsibility to take care of them. And that would be very possible if we weren't suffering from corruption at the highest level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Adam Tovi, for your presentation. So before we go to the last speaker, Muhammad Rifki or Kevin, I would like to invite Sister Fatima, because I have seen on the chat that she has disagree with the point that with one of our speakers. Maybe uh, you may have a reaction or feedback to the speaker. I have I give you a time to get to have feedback. Maybe you could turn your microphone on.
Can you hear me now? Assalamu alaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Yeah,
wabarakatuh.
I didn't listen to
Waalaikumsalam.
everything. I didn't listen to everything. I've been in the land for 72 years now, so I know what it's like. I myself am of mixed race. I've been born in Cape Town. I lived in Johannesburg. I've lived between Black people. I've lived between Indian people. I've lived at the moment in Cape Town. So the racial divide has been pushed by whatever the agenda was. I do not agree that we should loot at all. It doesn't matter who you are or what your agenda is. Looting is criminal and it's punishable. It doesn't matter what religion you believe in or not. I wouldn't like somebody to take anything from me, and neither would you like for me to take anything from you. So that's my point where the looting is concerned. I was very pleased to hear, what was the speaker's name now? To hear a lot of him and being very open and very, very, very precise when he said that we did not agree with the president, that the president is a puppet, and I believe that as well. But there's obviously a lot more. And as for the Marikana thing, well, that's a big thing as well. So I was listening. Sorry, I was listening, and there's just so much crap and corruption happening. And we pay a lot of taxes. We pay a lot of taxes. And unfortunately, our taxes are not being used for the poor people. We shouldn't be poor. We shouldn't be struggling and grannies making food during this COVID period, which is about over 18 months now, I think, about 18 months. And money was given to South Africa. Million trillions was given to South Africa, not loaned, given, so that people could overcome to tide the people over in the COVID period, which was supposed to last only 6 weeks. But now we're not only going to 6 months, we've gone into 18 months almost. And so that is my feeling. I feel really angry about all of the crap. We shouldn't be, people who are 67, people who are 20 and 40, who have homes, who suddenly became poor because they couldn't pay the bonds. Now, I believe that the government here in South Africa knew about all this lockdown crap. Tonight, the president will be speaking again, and I hope he will really, really say something towards the real thing, the real matters. And he was shut up when the people were looting. He, as the president, when he tells the people to mask up, they mask up. Everybody's at attention. But when it came to looting and stealing and hurting people, and this is happening everywhere, not only in KZN, it's happening every day. In fact, they actually say Cape Town in South Africa is the capital of women being raped, 1 in 4. How ridiculous is that? So we are not stupid anymore. We may be stupid, we may not be that educated, but people are, and even if we didn't, with social media, we've learned a lot. And so that is my feeling. And I salute each and every person who spoke, and I'm especially happy to have heard Adam Tofi. I don't know him, and but we should come on much more stronger. We had a bit of a march yesterday in Sea Point, and apparently it was quite good. I would have gone, but I didn't feel too well. So really, the stupid law that is being implemented because of COVID, that's a whole lot of nonsense. And as for the economy being shut down, people need to get back. Need to live. People need to earn. People don't want to steal. People want to earn their money. And as for the farming and stuff like that, get educated. For the black people out there, please get educated, and then you can do your farming. Because farmlands were given to people, but I didn't bother because I didn't learn
Okay,
to
Sister
agriculture,
Fatima.
whatever. That was my point feeling. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sister Fatima. Later on, we can discuss further with question and answer. Thank you for your feedback. Try again. So we now turn to our last speaker, Mr. Muhammad Rifki, on behalf of ILI, Indonesia. Place and times is yours. Thank you.
Yeah. From my side, or from my opinion, what was Brother Itani, Napoleon, Bashir, and Adam say? My opinion and analysis that riot and looting in South Africa are not spontaneous occurrence of the people. This event could be caused by many variables. In addition, that incident might be used by certain parties who want to take advantage. So I have two analysis for this case. Yeah, my first analysis is the riot and looting were caused by accumulating of social and economic inequality in South Africa, where there are still high rates of poverty, unemployment, and reduced income of residents as a result of the COVID-19 lockdown. That's my first analyze. And my second analyze is, in addition, they are two political competing, namely those who support President Ramaphosa and who are loyal to former President Jacob Zuma, so that certain parties carry out provocation. For example, through social media, so that riots and looting occur with the aim of disrupting political and economic stability. Then the target is the power of struggle. uh, Regarding the incident in South Africa, I, as a young of Indonesian, hope so the condition in South Africa will be returned to normal soon. And spread don't spread the provocative content that can make the situation worse. And together they provide a solution to this event. Stop giving unnecessary comment. And once again, we Indonesian youth hope the situation in South Africa will improve soon. Yeah, going better. Let us all pray that Indonesia and South Africa will become more developed countries. Thank you. That's my analysis. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muhammad Rifki. So we end our speaker for the panelists. So thank you very much for the discussion this afternoon. So very insightful in presentation and valuable discussion. We now open for the discussion, and we open question and answer. Let your raise your hand on the chat, or maybe you may have your question on the chat. So I would like to invite from the beginning, or anybody want to raise hand here. I think we give to the audience to have a question for the speakers. Can someone help me to find the first question? Maybe Sister Latifah, could you help me to find the first question that would like to
I
ask?
think Brother Napoleon is wanting to ask a question.
Yes, that speaker, one of the speakers.
Okay, please have your say, Brother Napoleon.
I think I don't like the issue that Sister Fatima raises, the issue of being colored, to the issue of being mixed race. When we are talking about an issue of being natives, is she trying to say to us she's both advantaged, like she's half white, half black? I don't understand why is she raising this? We are talking about an issue of national interest. I, being a Khoisan, I feel I'm an African. I'm an African, and I'm not confused about it. I'm clear about it, and it's painful for this Fatima to come and raise those issues. And I relate to people who are suffering in this land, and this happens to be mostly us Black people who are not privileged to start businesses, who are not privileged to own land. We want to farm, and we don't. I mean, look at Cape Town, the land of the Khois, but the Khois, they stay on the other side congested, and the white people stay in lucrative land whereby they are privileged to do tourism and what. It is painful. Please, Sis Fatima, as old as you are, could you please clarify the issue of your identity? If you are with us as Black people, be with us. If you feel that you are white, go and join white people, and your liberal views will massage those white people who are benefiting from our privileges. We feel right we feel those who looted were right because they are the owners of this land. Mining companies have been looting our minerals without our beneficiation for a very long time. White people have been looting the benefit of our land by farming and forcing us to be consumers for a very long time. We are at pains, and you can't come and tell us that you are a colored, you are a mixed race. What is that? It's an insult. You don't know the pain of being hungry. You don't know the pain of being forced to be a laborer. We don't want to be laborers. We are the owners of this land, and we must call the shots. We must call the shots. And you cannot say we are, that sounds like that narrative that South Africans are lazy, Black people are lazy, what. No, that is rubbish. That is utter rubbish. Please settle your race where you are. If you are with us, the natives, the owners of this land, come and join us, and we fight our way forward. And we will know that once we get the ownership of our land, we will farm in it. We built South Africa. Cape Town was built by Black people. Johannesburg was built by Black people. Durban was built by Black people. When did we become lazy? Farming, we are doing the farming. White people, they come and just make noise while we are doing the work. So it angers me when somebody comes with those liberal views that no, I'm mixed. What the hell is that? Please, 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 don't anger us. We are angry people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Napoleon. So I want to turn for Brother Adam Tofi. You raise your hand. Please have your say.
Okay. Okay, assalamualaikum everybody again. Look, the issue of this is the thing we're talking about here. A situation that happened in South Africa with regards to riots, and we find that immediately, or it ends up becoming a debate about racial groupings. The problem that I have with this is that there's not when I say, if I say white, maybe I must say, how do I, like, you know, we're not talking about a white-skinned man. We're not talking about I'm talking about people that have used this country in a sense that there's no benefit to the people of this country, right? So anybody can be that corrupt. You don't have to be a single race to do that. If that corruption is one of the major influences of why this whole thing happens, because it is the corruption which takes away from the people, because the money that's supposed to go to, or the benefits that people are supposed to derive from a smooth government is completely destroyed. So if we're going to talk now about identity politics, we don't need to get into identity politics at all. We don't need to start talking about white, black, colored in the sense of racial classifications that that were fed to us by a carefully and strategically constructed apartheid regime in the, you know, in our recent history. So I think that is beside the point. It doesn't need to be given its airtime. The use of the word native to this land. When you say native and you refer to only black people, there are natives of this. I mean, we understand that when you say black people, we're talking about the original people of South Africa, but then everybody else who was brought here by slavery, you know, to the Cape, for example, we're gonna get caught up in a mess of history, because there are sufferers of different ethnicities in this history. I mean, the people of Indonesia are linked to South Africa in Cape Town specifically through this whole historical thing. So I wanted to just hear or see if anybody has any questions on like the issues. Or I wanted to ask, sorry, Brother Itani, with regards to the effects, the direct ground effects of businesses, if it was all just white owned or white capital businesses, or if it was small businesses that was namely affected. Because we see that, you know, in the videos, for example, you see that it's like malls that are getting looted and plundered. And just to reiterate that, I'm not placing I'm not giving justification. When I say this justification in the looting and plundering, I'm not saying that it is not criminal. I'm saying that there's a reasonable understanding of why people are doing it. It doesn't mean that it's good, but it doesn't mean that they are the ultimate, or the blame ultimately lies with them. That's what I'm trying to say. So I just want to ask Brother Itani, the places, namely that are, or not namely, but in general, that are being looted or plundered, because you have shown us from where you are specifically in Joburg, is it that they are majority just ground level shops, or what's the situation there? Shukran.
Thank you, Brother Adam. Is there any other question? I have seen a question on the chat room, so maybe I would like to going to the next session is uh, observation from our observant and also our mentors. We have two observants here. We have Mr. Syariat Alam, or mostly we call Bang Sam, and also we have Ibu Mariam. She is from South Africa. So both are very passionate to teach and to build the young generation to have a better leadership, and also for brighter future leaders. So I would like to invite Bang Sam for the first observant. Please welcome Bang Sam. Thank you. Is Bang Sam already here? Hello?
Waalaikumsalam.
Okay.
Your voice is too far. I'm gonna leave and gonna log in again.
Okay.
Okay. So I give Madam Mariam first, maybe to be our observant. Assalamualaikum, Madam Mariam.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam.
Punjani ya. Punjani.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bang Sam.
Yeah. My beloved Titani, Napoleon, Adam, Bashir, and everybody. Thank God, Alhamdulillah, we are here to voice what is inside our heart out. I did listens to what you spoke from Fatima also, you know, and I try to capture each of your statement using my heart. Many people, they just speak, but when they listen, they don't use their heart. So I'm just trying to when I want to speak and when I want to hear, I want to use my heart, you know. So the incident in South Africa, of course, right? Or some others, some people they feel like it's too painful, you know. It's too painful to see the scene, the views. Wow, the city has been destroyed, the shop already gone. But for some people who lives there also, on the other hand, this is what when you say you are losing, this is also what I can terminate the local people or the black people lose all of this year, all of this century. We already lost many centuries ago, you know. When the colonialization starts, the white people came, you know, if we take a look at the history, before everything happening, the trading between Indian people, for example, to Indonesia, they don't have any problem. They just do the trading. They go to South Africa. also they do trading nicely, no problem. But when the white people come, start from the Portuguese, came and then explore the other parts of the world, they think who is the first to see, then I am become the owner. Even the Pope from the Rome in 1475, they divided the world into two. 50% belong to the Portuguese, 50% belong to the Spain. That's it. The rest, none of us, either Fatima, either Basir, either Kevin, either me, they don't have any rights. The rights only belong to those two nations. That is decided by the Pope. Now we are here. We are here now, you know, like Indonesians and South Africa share the same history. Both of us have been colonized by the British and also the Dutch. But Indonesian get lucky because Indonesian fought since 1945. You know, before Indonesia, there is no Indonesia. It is belong to hundreds of nations, hundreds of kingdom. Then they merged into become one. And they fought harshly in 1945. One of the national heroes from Indonesia, who is on Cape Town, he is also a rebellion fighter, is Say Yusuf, who was exiled in Cape Town and died over there. And the descendants of Say Yusuf, Tuan Guru, is in South Africa. So we share same story, and I understand. So we want to put back our full dignity, and in front of God, of course, everybody have the same rights, you know, the same rights, no matter who you are and where you're from. Napoleon has the same right as me. But I think in this matter now, after the apartheid finish, the question is how can we raise our hands? Because in South Africa, I agree, you know, I agree. The black people also, for many, many years, for centuries, too much having oppression, too much. We need to give our hands for them as much as we can. So they also have the same, I can say, the same chair as we have the chair now. And it doesn't hurt, you know, to share the feeling. Sometimes some people, they can have 5 chairs, a good food, and the others maybe less. But how can we still have the same feeling, you know? How come we still have the one neighbor, you know? This is one of the challenges in South Africa. So in this rights matter, I can say, I understand that this, for some people will think it is political. For some people, it is completely criminal. For some people, they will say, but I can feel the anger, you know. In these roots of life, I can see also the anger, the frustrations, what is down there. And they just want to express, you know. Some people just simply, they want to take the opportunities, you know. The mining company, when you see some people, they rob, you will think that, wow, they are brutal. But yeah, maybe if we, like Napoleon say, if we take a look at the mining company, they are actually maybe the biggest robber, you know, maybe. So anyway, the points of our being now is to listen each other and open our heart. This matter will not be finished unless we open our heart for everybody. We must. Otherwise, this matter will not be be solved. And I think I agree the point of view of everybody at this stage is become the victim of the conditions, and these conditions are not by design. Some of it, part of it, you see, like the pandemic, it is like we don't have a choice. We at the current times, everybody is suffering. Even in Indonesia, we are suffering. And maybe some people think this is a big conspiracy. Maybe in Indonesia, we hear that the riots in South Africa because the people are tired of their government, and it is therefore some people want us also to do the demonstrations, to do things same like is in Africa. That's why we have the webinar. That is not true. That is not true. Part of it, some people are very frustrated with this pandemic. It really damaged everybody. I remember the story of Umar. In Umar time, one of the leader of Islamic in the past, right? I mean, you cannot also punish people who say they are doing the crime because they are hungry. But nowadays the gap also very difficult. If your neighbor is too poor, they don't have anything, and you show the car, you show the everything, not also good. So must find the balance, and overall, I think that there is no right or wrong. Everybody deserves to be right. Everybody is victim of the conditions, and we must listen to each other. I agree with everybody here. I agree. I can imagine. Maybe if there is a program, let's exchange. You become me and me become you. 3 days. Now you tell me what is your thought. Maybe you will speak differently after that. But anyway, the looting is not the answers. The criminal is the answers. But in the near problem, near far, very near, but not really far. We must think away how this segregation, this must be ended, and this is not cannot be done if the elites politics cannot they are not willing to it. We must start doing it in the bottom. That's maybe my point here. Again, I thank you for everybody, and hopefully, inshallah, I pray South Africa will be united more and more and to solve this matter. Thank you, Alfian.
Thank you, Bang Sam, for your wonderful insight, mashallah, and thank you, everyone. So, from the discussion this afternoon, so we have rich and better understanding from both our countries.
Yeah, maybe later on, Alfian,
yep,
you can make a webinar. You invite Napoleon and everybody with the
sure.
different agenda. How to
Yep.
erase poverty?
How? Sorry?
How to erase poverty? Because
Yeah.
everybody agree that the roots of this cause is poverty.
Okay.
The question how?
Yep. Thank you, Bang Sam. I will note that very well. Thank you. I would like also to acknowledge IMAP participant here is one of my besties from the IMAP program. IMAP is Australia Indonesia Muslim Exchange Program. Maybe you would like to give a response. Here I see we have Waode, Mbak Waode Surya Dharma, Sumaya, you just joined. Maybe you would like to give some feedback, or maybe you would like to, or have your say, something like that. Or Mas Nas from the IMAP program.
Okay, well, halo, assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Mas
Waalaikumsalam.
Alfian. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Wadi Surya Dharma from Makassar, and it is a very great discussions. I just have heard from African friends and also from Indonesian side about the conflict and what's happening there. So I think I also in Indonesia, especially in Makassar, we have also such kind of activity that where we talk about peace education and I do really willing to have involved also from Makassar side, because I think basically these are from western of Indonesian, and it will be very great to have also to have also friend from here, because I believe a discussion is not only from learning from you guys, like we have a pandemic, and also you guys have conflict issues there where the store, it's very truly when I'm listening it, I just like, oh my god, you guys are very strong, and this voice must be heard not only in this webinar online or virtual, but not be heard with the youth, so we can have a voice together. We can rise this voice from the African and what from Indonesian. I think that's all from my side. Thank you, Kang Alfian, for sharing this information.
Thank you, Mbak Waude from Makassar. Interesting fact is the first Islamic preachers is from Makassar to South Africa, as mentioned before, Sheikh Yusuf Al-Makassari.
Yes. So Sheikh Yusuf is very famous here. He is a very, like one of our big leader here. So we have actually Makassar and Africa has a really strong relationship, even though in Africa they have a kampung or Makassar village. So we just like brothers. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Is there any other IMAP participant would like to say or give feedback? Well,
I don't know if it's the right time for me to respond to Brother Adam's question.
yes.
Brother Adam asked about the ground, about the exact impact on the businesses as to who was affected, and so everybody who happens to be operating in the areas in which, now I'm answering this one from a racial point of view, anyone that is operating within the area that experienced the looting was affected, which would be every race and every nationality that operates in that area. But I believe that the question was mainly regarding whether there were black businesses that were affected, were there relatively poorer businesses that were affected. Yes, every business of any level was affected. From that, I wish to point out two things. First thing is that when you look into the media, you will have learned that there is the media is showing us about malls and such. This is informed by two factors. First factor is that it was the first times that malls were affected by lootings in this fashion. Like I said in my introduction, malls have this looting happens regularly in South Africa, but it happens to smaller businesses. Only this time did it affect malls. Secondly, the malls are owned by those that own resources, those that Comrade Napoleon points out as the white monopoly, and the ones that Adam say it's not necessarily white people, but those that have benefited in senses that no one else would benefit. They benefited from where majority would have benefited, the masses would have benefited, but the benefit went to them. These are the people who own the malls. It just happened that our president also owns malls, and one of the most distracted is one of his malls, the one that is in Deep Proof. So it has affected it affected everyone, but it was mainly in areas that the poorer, relatively poorer live. Now the impact affects the poorer because they don't have places to shop, they don't have places to go for recreation and other things. It is said that in KwaZulu Natal, people are forced to go to neighboring provinces like in Mpumalanga, who are in the north, and Eastern Cape, who are in the south, for shopping. And in some areas, we've heard that they've started to request proof of residence to prove that indeed you are from around the area, because people from other areas are coming to consume things that are in the areas that were not affected by this. So yes, everyone was affected on every racial line, but mainly it is the poorer who are affected because it is shopping malls and complexes that are in their area. For instance, in Soweto, almost every mall was looted except Maponya Mall. Maponya Mall was protected. Southgate, which is a walking distance from Deep Blue, was not looted. Um, as such, you see a Mall of the North, which is a jogging distance from Alexander, which Alexander is today rampaged, but the Mall of the North was not affected. They did go, but they could not go in for different reasons, which one could also question the issue of intelligence to say that there may have been people from higher levels who were sharing intelligence with these people to say, don't go in here because it may be easy for you to go out and such. But yes, the effect affected everyone, but the advantage and the privilege have not been really affected that much because their malls are operating. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Brother Ita. Well, we are in the end of the time. So from the discussion this afternoon, we have what happened in South Africa is warned to the world. So and it also what's happened in when major political faction and influential leader prioritize their own interests over the integrity of their country's democracy. So once again, I would like a very sincerely thank you for all speakers for joining us this afternoon. It was wonderful to have you all. And I'm also asking all participants here across the world to keep South Africa in your prayers. And inshallah, we'll
Alfian,
get better soon.
Andaro
Yep.
will ask a question. Andaro.
I think.
Sorry, Calvin, can I talk for like about 3 to 4 minutes, if it's possible?
Okay. Okay, 2 minutes.
Yeah. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. First of all, I would like to thanks for that. I would really like to talk about the poverty itself. Poverty should be characterized not just as a lack of income, but also as a collection of numerous and cumulative deprivation in access to essential human right and dignity, such as the right of food, nutrition, access to education, health, housing, decent job, and a lack of political voice and power. Now, here, the multidimensionality of poverty and the interconnection of components must be acknowledged in order to create policies and programs that address poverty in complete and holistic manners. And poverty is a global problem. By the UN said that okay, I just want to mention what Kasariat said before. The possible solution how to end the poverty. I would like to share my opinion on that. For me,
sorry, Brother Andaro. Maybe we
that,
can have another topic
okay,
for the
sorry.
poverty. So I think because
No. I would like to mention all of this. Okay, it's okay.
Today's tema apa? Today's theme. Inshallah we will have another session talk about poverty. But thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I would like to say thank you again to have you all, and once again keep South Africa in your prayers, and may get cover and better soon, inshallah. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.